Hi, y'all.
Oh, hey.
How's it going?
Good. Just hanging out with the dogs in the rain.
Nice.
Yeah. I got in here early because I was really unsure of whether I would be able to figure out how to use it.
Yeah. I was in here for a couple minutes just playing around with the controls. So
Nice.
it says it's recording.
Okay. Oh, shit.
Right. I was like, I better make my bed or make it look presentable.
Right. If others might see it. Cool. Who else is just those folks in the group, I'm guessing?
Yeah. Hi, Shelly.
You see me? Hear me?
Oh, hey.
I just made my bed too. I don't know if you can see Squid back there. She's sleeping.
No.
Aw.
She's like, no, not moving.
I'm wondering where did the screen go? There it go. I was trying to see who else had that was interested. I know it's too early for Australia.
Okay.
Yeah,
Like
3 a.m.
Yeah.
I know Giselle was on that.
On the
Was
group.
Yeah, she said she would jump in because she'd be off work or something. She gave enough details that made me think that she was going to be doing it.
Yeah. And Kayla wanted in, but no confirmation that she's available.
Okay.
Let's pull up this conversation. I'm pulling up the big old conversation that you started, Shelly. We do have base camp happening right now, so I think that's a good thing. I think like a third of the participants are women and trans players, so that's cool.
Nice.
I was wondering about asking Chris, who's been the one to run all of the camps, to put together kind of like a cheat sheet for like how to expand them to your city.
Sure.
Like, I don't know if that's something he's into or if he wants to keep the branded events kind of going himself.
Yeah.
Talking about Chris?
Hammersley?
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of missed the whole Fixcraft going out of business and the new brand that they have, or that Chris has.
Yeah.
I was out of the country for all of that, so I was being updated at James about that.
Yeah, so he sold everything to, or Sean sold everything to Donata, all their formulas and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then Chris, one of his big projects, it seems, has been continuing the camps.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I don't know. We do have a few people in our community who've attended them, like Fun, I know. And then we sent to 4 people last year, and we're sending 4 or 5 more this year from the scholarship. So we could like ask them, what they thought about those formats, and how replicable they might be on a smaller scale. Because I think it seems like the interest level is high enough that we should be doing it more than once a year.
Yeah, I agree, and it seems like for some people, traveling to get there has been a problem.
Yeah. Time off work too can be really hard with people who are service or just any other than 9 to 5 industry.
Yeah.
Yeah. The idea Krista and I came up with a while ago and then kind of dropped the ball on was having a like regional skills camp day. So like every region has a skills camp on that day, and like just hosted by kind of the top players in that region. So it's within driving distance for everyone and like more accessible that way. You don't have the same like concentration of talent of flying out like the 5 best or whatever for a single camp, but you get the community building on a local level.
Yeah, that's what I kind of like had in mind as well. Like when I was talking to just like Arnold already, and he was like, "Yeah, I'd totally be willing to like be a coach." Like he's like really into the idea. And maybe this doesn't have to be necessarily geared at the WTF community, but I don't know. I guess it just depends what the majority of people feel. Like, do we need an extra space for WTF like skills camps, or can it just be that we need to do more skills camps in general? You know, but everyone's included.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder about that too, because I feel like there's a lot of overlap between what WTFs are looking for in terms of like guidance and support, as well as what new players are looking for. It's not exactly the same, but I think there is a lot of overlap. And so like for me personally, like I feel very privileged that like I usually don't feel the need for a safe space. Like I feel very comfortable in most spaces, but that's just me. So I don't want to like have my experience lead me to not provide an experience for someone who may really feel like they need it. So it's like I want to have those spaces, but I also sort of wanted to kind of like, I don't know, address like something that's a little bit broader than just maybe one thing at a time. Like if we can address 2 things at once, I'd like to try, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I like the idea of it being women and trans led rather than just an open event, because I like the idea of raising up our newbies, like both the cis male and the women and trans communities to kind of respect like the authority of women and trans players, because I feel like that's something that's lacking, and that's something that I saw at Worlds this year where there was a lot. I suggested that we put Claire on the ref stand on court A so that we had some representation of our community in a position of authority, and there was a lot of resistance to that idea. So I think having the trainers, having the like, or what's the word, the camp, like the people hosting the camp event be women and trans might be more significant than having all the participants be, or having women and trans coaches and having the participants be cis males is kind of inverts the traditional power dynamic that we're seeing in base camp.
I think I like that idea of definitely having, if not, like having a lot of the organizers and coaches being WTF players. I also like the idea of maybe just like, if it is open to everybody, maybe part of that camp is also like talking about how to have those conversations and just like addressing it explicitly, like during, like that can be part of like, because it seems like it almost goes with the territory of like, if you are investing in polo in any way, like these are conversations you're going to have, or these are experiences you're going to have at some point, like dealing with like talking to, I don't know, a bro dude, or like relating to a trans person, like whatever it is, like these are things that are just going to happen now. And so it's like, I think it's just it could be explicitly addressed if we wanted to, like just have a conversation on one of the days or something.
Yeah, the idea I had was because Heather McKinnon up in Seattle was already planning to have a like women and trans led 1-day tourney, to have at least for Cascadia have a 1-day camp on the other weekend day.
Okay.
At the same facility, so it'd be kind of. And we had Shelly, did you make it to the women in polo summit in Guadalajara?
Yeah.
Okay. I couldn't remember who was there.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had the idea of kind of expanding on the summit, which gave a lot of space, like concentrated space to having like difficult conversations for the women in the community. Expanding on that and like building it into some kind of camp, but the conversations never actually led to haven't led to any kind of concrete actions yet. So I think having like this kind of extending that format a little bit into the camps of being like, hey, we're gonna like have a breakout session between like actually tooling around and doing skills and drills on our polo bikes and like talk about some of the political dynamics in bike polo for half an hour or an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Because yeah, I feel like that's something that definitely doesn't get a lot of space or time at tournament-oriented events.
Yeah, and ideally you can people can like figure out like what works best for their region, you know, as far as like maybe whatever the format is. You know, I know like New York City's got like a lot of great players, so it would actually be kind of nice to be able to utilize like some of those players being coaches. I mean, personally, I was saying, like, I'm not like the best coach at coaching. I mean, I definitely like, you know, like obviously I know how to play and I can give guidance, but I think that there's some people, at least in like if New York was to host, you know, something like this,
Yeah.
but at the same time, yeah, and I guess that's kind of why I brought up earlier, like, you know, what would be, you know, the dynamic of how this would go? Would it be specifically WTF community, or would we open it up for, you know, just like more like a broader audience or sorry, a community to play or to participate in this, and then just have more of these skills and like camps. Sorry, I was like that was kind of rough to get through, but
early for me on the
I don't know.
So guys.
What'd you say?
I said it's early for me on the West Coast, so I can sympathize.
But yeah, I also don't have any experience like running. I've never even been to a like a skills camp, so I mean, obviously I understand like kind of what it involves, but that's why I was kind of hoping that that Joel could like join and kind of give us an idea of what they're doing in Australia and how they run it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think, yeah, unfortunately, Joelle didn't get back to me at all about what time she would be available to meet. So,
right.
Yeah, I mean,
changing time to accommodate that. But we can keep having these chats in the future. This was not particularly hard to set up.
no.
So, we just need to play around with the time and date, do something kind of in the evening so that it's in the middle of the day for Australia in the future.
Yeah. Do you know offhand if there's anybody in the Latin American clubs that would be interested? I saw some people like asking for translations on the page, but I also just like don't know too many of them personally outside of Ladies Army 9.
Giselle?
Hi. I don't know how much interest there is. There's definitely a language barrier because our whole conversation has been in English, and apparently the auto translate is not making sense. We're using a lot of specialized terms that Facebook isn't going to know how to translate. So
yeah,
there might be interest that is just not can't even be generated because they don't know what we're talking about.
Sure. Yeah, that would be. Do we have anyone who is bilingual that could
Well, we
help
have
with that effort?
here in the
Oh,
U.S.
oh, that's right. You have Deb.
Um,
Yeah, we have a very Midwestern amount of diversity out here. Okay. Yeah. I don't know exactly how I feel in terms of like very strongly either way of it being like exclusive to WTF players or not. I know that like, I don't know. I like the idea of like building clubs and regions as a whole and like educating people like together and having like fostering that community. But I also want to like I want to give preference, or not preference, but I want to like acknowledge that people have been othered and excluded from spaces and give them more access to that space that they have been denied in the past. So I guess I'm kind of like, in terms of what you were articulating with different ideas, Sarah, about like how to change that dynamic, but have it still be where it's a mixed gender format of some kind. I thought that was nice.
Giselle, do you need any catching up, or do you have any?
Yeah. If you just quick catch up would be awesome.
Yeah. So the idea that we were toying with is kind of having like a set day to do camps, a set day or weekend or month to do camps, like one in every region.
Oh, cool.
So like we had Shelly online from New York. It looks like her internet connection got interrupted. And then Grace is in the Midwest. I'm here in Cascadia. So we kind of have representatives of a few regions. So we could kind of put something together, simultaneous events that are geared towards building up individual regions. And we're debating kind of, should it be a camp that's specifically for women and trans players, or should we have it led by women and trans players? Or the idea I just came up with is women and trans get an extra week on registration, so if it fills up with them, it fills up, and otherwise then we open it to cis male players. And like, how many of the needs being communicated by women and trans newbies are different from what newbies, regardless of gender, are saying and asking for from our community.
For sure. That I think it's something that could work really well as far as like bringing awareness to the WTF players that need the space to be able to develop in a supportive environment. I think that every region has like slightly different needs, so being able to like curate a camp that can fit that region and fit those needs and fit those attendees is really cool. And I think, like Sarah, your idea of opening it up for a week prior, it's just so different. It just depends on like what those needs are for those regions and if inviting those cis male players would work. I feel like in some regions that would work, and then maybe in some regions keeping it a little bit more focused on the WTF players might be more impactful. It's just, I think, going to be different. I know in the Southeast we have people that are allies on the internet, and then in real life, it's kind of a different situation. And so I just like wonder how it would be for like the cis males who would join as well, and like their reaction. I think one thing that was mentioned when you were bringing me up to speed was the WTF players leading it. I think WTF players leading this camp, no matter who's attending, is going to make a really strong statement. And that is going to be something that is going to be really powerful for new players, whether they're cis white gendered, whether they're WTF, or whether they're just getting interested in the sport. That's something I noticed with Ladies Army. We were really, Ladies Army, it was my first Ladies Army. It was really awesome and powerful to see all these players. But then I remember hearing the rest of these cis white male dudes being like, no, this is my court. That's my rule. I'm going to make the call. And so I was like, well, why aren't we having strong WTF refs? how can we make the presence and the leadership, whether it's a camp or a ref, also be WTF supportive as well.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was something I wondered about and was debating for Dames, was because at the same time, like the only WTF player not participating in our club was me, and I'm not a particularly strong or comfortable ref. Like I barely know what's happening when things are being called on me on the court, so I don't feel super comfortable doing that. And there were conversations about it, and the other side of the coin was like, we want WTFs to be reffing, but also like, do I want to be asking a participant to take away from their experience of the tournament to help like volunteer for it? And that was something like that I was ultimately like, I would prefer to have people just be able to participate and not have to like do anything other than just have fun and enjoy their tournament. So it got that was sort of one of the stumbling blocks I guess we came upon, was like, how do we represent women in terms of like reffing these games, or WTFs, excuse me. But then also like, how do we give people the space to just enjoy themselves and be participants and not have to organize or volunteer?
And I think that's something Shelly and I don't know if you noticed the same things I did at Dames too. I think it was hugely valuable to see the support from the men in the Minneapolis community at Dames 2, because at Dames 2, the men of DC bike polo at large, like as a group at large, only showed up for the co-ed on Monday, and that was very disappointing. So to see the guys out there squeegeeing the court and out there like reffing games and actually participating was pretty heartening compared to what I saw at the last games. There were only one or two guys who were actually helping out, and we did have participants having to ref games and kind of silly things, or like Elias reffing every single game on one of the courts because there was no one else there to help.
We did luck out with we had a lot of people from neighboring clubs as well, just being willing to help out, so that was really nice. Okay, I wonder, would there be a value in like reffing being a skill that we look at, like developing people as like, here's the rule set, here's some of the subtleties that you may not be familiar with just by reading it, maybe like, because things can like look different on the court than they do on the page, and maybe that's a skill that we could add into that to like try and like support there being like more strong refs, so it's not like every goddamn tournament it's Joe sitting out there complaining about the sun on his head.
Yeah. I know, I would totally be into that. I like to geek out on that stuff and would be all
I would definitely like to be able to do that, but I also like, just at this point, like I don't feel confident. Like I don't even like, I had to have someone explain like what is it advantage to me the other day, and I was like, oh, okay, that kind of makes sense, but like I don't know if I would be able to call it if I were like trying to ref a game. But
yeah, I mean, it's a lot harder. I've done reffing before, and it's definitely like knowing the rules is one thing, but then being able to like call it on like a dime, and like there's so much going on, and like you're like, okay, there is an advantage, but who has the ball? Who is this against? And then that's like, so yeah, it's definitely, but the more practice, like the better you're gonna be at that. So yeah, that's like something that I always like say I want to do. Like I definitely want to try reffing, but I mean, and half the time I'm like games anyways, like I might as well just like be up there like reffing instead. But yeah, that's it. As the WTF community, it would be nice if we like tried to like push each other to try to do more, and it definitely can be incorporated in like the skills, like camps, like I mean, even if it just comes as like a, hey, kind of like what we were talking about with the with like the summit, it could just be something like that. You take 30 minutes to an hour and like just be like, hey, we're going to discuss rules, and if people have questions, or and it can just be like something like that as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And my understanding of the fixed craft or Donata format is that there is like a specific like skills day where you rotate through coaches that are divided by skill, and then there's like a tournament sort of thing with coaches on the last day. So if we adopted some kind of like format that included like skill building and then play, we could have whoever's participating in the camps like reffing, or like two of them at a time co-reffing each game on that day 2 tournament play.
Yeah, and I think that goes maybe to a point that Eileen made on the thread of that coach approach, like for those veterans that were supportive and vocal in play for supporting the newer teams, like the newbie teams that were on the court, in the sense of like where, maybe the vets could be out there helping coach and just like recognizing those plays and calling those plays out for newer players that are still trying to understand what that play is. And then once again with those rules, so incorporating reffing but coaching as well, because I think that's something that helped me personally grow, is like personal time, like calling out those plays mid-play so I can actually understand it a little bit better. And I think that could be something, Dame's like setting that could be structured and really helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would be an interesting concept, is having like almost like a sign up sort of thing of like, hey, here's like everybody gets a team that they kind of like coach a little bit throughout the weekend or something, and maybe it's like a team that happens to have like more people from your own club in it, so you already have that relationship with some of them. I don't have any strong feelings about the piece of the conversation about specifically changing either Ladies Army or Dames. I don't have a strong feeling about either one of them, just because I haven't had the time to like become connected to them as events. But I don't know, I guess if people feel strongly about maintaining those tournaments as they are, I think it's just an opportunity to like have like, well, why do we only need to have 2 WTF focused tournaments a year? Like, why not have like 5 or 6 and have them be whatever format we want? Maybe there can be one that,
Right.
So it's like, for me, I feel like our options aren't limited to changing how we approach Dames or Ladies Army. It can be, well, let's just start a new one. And that's sort of my opinion.
And then that's kind of what I was like proposing. That's what we do, is start a new one. But then I start worrying about spreading us so thin, like how many tournaments realistically can people attend a year, and
yeah.
I think, and then there's is it's different, but there are definitely like these WTF mandatory tournaments that people are excited about. So I guess that's kind of where I was thinking. I was like, at what point does it become like too many tournaments, and that we can't like, because it's nice when we can get like the majority of WTF players in at one tournament,
Sure.
But I guess, and that's why I'm talking about regional like skills camps, so we can kind of like really address like this issue, or like trying to bring up our like up and coming players, but not having to stretch them out like to travel so far. And also, if we do like the regional skills camps, it's like you're going to get more time to practice, to play, versus if you travel, across the country to play like, maybe like 8 games total. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that can definitely feel frustrating. Oh, sorry. What was that last part?
I was just saying there's pros and cons, so I didn't know what people were thinking about that.
Yeah, no, I definitely like the idea of doing things regionally, because again, it's like you get to, I don't know, you get to focus on like the specific needs of each region, because they are very different in terms of like how many people are available in each region, how close the travel is. So it's like you can attend to those specific concerns. And then also, there are a lot of people who can't travel because of being able to afford it, taking the time off work. And so making sure that there's things that people who, can't afford to fly off the country and take a Friday and a Monday off of work or a whole weekend off of work get to come and participate in something, even if it's just for a few hours. So I don't know. I know for me, like based on that thread, like I've started talking to my club about next season hosting a tournament that's kind of like this sort of, it's based on kind of like the Sladies concept of like team captains are people with less experience and they get to build their team. So they go out and they choose, they're like, oh, hey, like someone like me, I could be like, oh, like I've always wanted to play with Bird, and like I'll invite Bird to be an experienced player who's in my region and see if she wants to come do that. But it's like, anybody who has X amount of experience has to be invited or something. So like we've started talking about doing something like that next year in our region already. And so it's like, maybe we could, I don't know, maybe we could do skills camps and regional tournaments. We can organize it all together and never sleep. Norm, you're fine. Sorry, I got 2 pups in here.
I really like that idea, Grace, for next year's season.
Yeah.
I would love to see that happen. I'm waiting to hear back from Heather, but we're looking at August 12th for Women in Trans-led tournament, August 11th for tentatively.
Is that the same weekend as Sladies?
Okay. So that wouldn't work for the people on the side of the country who are traveling for it.
But that is okay because like it's still like, not everyone's going to Sladies, but also Sladies is far from Cascadia, so I'm sure there's going to be.
I was going to work with that weekend for us and maybe set August as a target date for like every region to have something in August.
I know that for the folks that are in school or are in like a realm of academia, school starts back up for folks. I'm not in school, but it's just something to think about when you think of like availability for folks. August can be challenging for some.
Okay.
Yeah, and I know for us here, it's mostly weather concerns just because we have very, very specific months in which we could do anything. And otherwise we're very stuck because of snow and cold.
Right.
I think early August is usually a pretty good time for a lot of people. This season I'm due early August, so around that time I'll be tapping out until probably October.
Yeah.
So unless somebody else it gets really motivated in Minneapolis, I don't or our region, I definitely won't be able to be a part of planning anything. But I think it's a good timeline if other people are able to do it.
I think even if we could get like 2 or 3 regions on board, or maybe if you want to talk to Grace, like maybe the Cincinnati folks or someone like from a club that has more people to support such an event organized.
Yeah. Well, Cincinnati, I think, is technically Heartland, but I know a lot of Cincinnati is actually in Milwaukee now.
Yeah.
So I think Milwaukee and Madison, and especially since Kayla explicitly expressed interest, I have no doubts that like if I reached out specifically to Eileen and Bird, that they in Milwaukee would be interested. So like I think our region could support it. I just don't think it would be able to come out of Minneapolis, but that doesn't mean it can't come out of the region.
Right.
Yeah. Same with us in North Carolina. We play East Sides more sometimes than we do. So I think the idea of co-region could still support this mission. Like, Shelley, if it was New York or, wherever it landed, like we still would be able to help and support and come and like, depending on location and who could best support it, it could still be like a co-region.
Yeah. Yeah, New York has the facilities to do it, you know, like, and we have we have like a really great club right now. People are excited about polo. We have a lot of new players, but we also have a lot of veteran players. And so I know it's kind of far up here on the East Coast, but like if you think that people from Southeast would be willing to travel, I definitely would love to host it here. But that being said, yeah, I think co-regional also, you know, would work. It's just like, you know, whatever's closest to you. I think, you know, that's why I kind of was hoping that, like, you know, for having this conversation, everyone can kind of plan something in their region and whatever's closest for, you know, the players to go to. But
Yeah, that's true.
Do you guys, in terms of like how we would format, we're talking about specifically a skills camp at this point, right?
Yeah, and to pause right there too, that I think with that, it's also just looking at like the types of WTF support. If the skills camp is going to be led by WTF players, knowing like like the concentration in the region. So like Shelly, like each size has more WTF players than Southeast right now. So like, how can we help support each other with that thought of either it being regional and whichever is closest, because no one, you know, I'd love to travel like an hour or two, but then looking at who do we have to support this mission if we really want WTF players leading these camps. And like that, you know, knowledgeable slayers too, because like I would want to help support, but then I would also want to attend.
That's what I'm wondering. Like, is that super important? So, I mean, you know, it's just 4 of us, but like, what do you guys think as far as being led by WTF players? I mean, do you think that, you know, people are going to be more like receptive to the coaches being WTF, or I mean, do they really want to, like, you know, concentrate on? I think it would be nice to have a mix, because, and I'm also just personally thinking about New York City, and I know that we've got Arnold and we've got Nate Mumford and Zach Blackburn are all great players. And myself, and I'm sure Erica would come down from Rhode Island now. So I think it could be like a really nice mix. But at the same time, like if it's really important to have the coaches be all WTF players, then that's definitely something that.
Oh no.
It looks like we're about to get the boot. We are out of free
Personally,
time.
I think
Oh no.
Oh no.
We're out of what? Free time?
The meeting software costs money if you want to have a meeting longer than 40 minutes.
Oh no.
Oh.